It was midnight. The city was quiet, but outside a big white mansion, a girl stood alone in the cold rain. Her dress was soaked, her eyes full of tears. She knocked on the gate again, her hands shaking. "Please, please let me speak to him," she whispered. The guard looked at her with pity. "Madam, he said he doesn't want to see you." "I need just 5 minutes. Please," she begged. Inside the house, Raghav stood near the window. He could see her, wet, crying and desperate. But his heart had turned to stone. He turned away. Raghav was not always like this. Once he had smiled when she smiled. He had held her hand under the stars. But now things had changed. He had become rich, powerful, and well-known. And in his world, there was no place for a village girl named Meher. "Sir, she's still outside," the guard said again. "Should I send her away?" Raghav clenched his jaw. Let her in, just this once. A few minutes later, Meher stood in the grand hallway. Her clothes were dripping, her lips were blue from cold. But her eyes, those soft brown eyes, were still full of love and fear. Raghav didn't look at her. "Say what you came to say," he said coldly. Meher took a deep breath. Her hand went to her stomach, trying to protect the little life growing. Sighed. "Raghav, I'm pregnant." He laughed, a short, cruel laugh. "So, what does that have to do with me?" Her eyes widened. "It's yours, you know that. We were together. We were a mistake." He cut her off. "You think you can trap me with a child? Is that your plan?" Meher stepped back, hurt. "I never wanted money. I just wanted you to know. To take responsibility." Raghav's face hardened. "You're not part of my life anymore. Go. Take your fake story and leave." "I'm not lying," she said softly. A tear rolled down her cheek. "I loved you. And now I don't even want to see your face," he replied. There was silence. The only sound was the ticking of the gold clock on the wall. Meher looked at him one last time, her eyes full of pain and memories. "One day," she whispered. "You'll regret this." She turned and walked away. Her hands held her belly gently as if to say, "I'll protect you no matter what." Outside, the rain poured harder. The gate closed behind her with a loud thud. Raghav stood still. He should have felt peace, but something inside him felt wrong. He picked up a glass and drank. "She'll be fine," he told himself. "She'll disappear, like all the others." But he didn't know. That night, Meher didn't just leave a house. She left behind her old self and began a journey that would change their lives forever. The world had changed. Buildings grew taller, people moved faster, and Raghav's empire was now 10 times bigger than before. His name was on magazine covers, and his face was known across cities. But behind his strong smile, something was missing. He didn't know what, but he felt it every night when he sat alone with a glass of wine and silence. Far away, in a small town just outside the city, Meher stood near a school gate. 2 little boys ran toward her, both with curly black hair, bright eyes, and the same dimple Raghav once had. "Amma." "I got full marks," shouted one. "Amma, I helped my friend write today," said the other. She bent down and hugged them tight. Her smile was full of love, but her eyes carried years of pain. "Good boys," she whispered. "Let's go home." Their house was small with only 2 rooms. She worked as a school helper and sometimes cooked at a food stall. Life was hard, but she never complained. Her sons, Aryan and Rayhan, were her world. They were the reason she woke up every morning with strength. But that day, something strange happened. At the food stall, a man in a suit watched her from across the road. He held a photo in his hand. He spoke into his phone. "Yes, sir. I've found her. She's alive and she has twins." Back in the city, Raghav sat in his office staring at the file in front of him. A photo slipped out. It was her, Meher, standing with 2 boys beside her. Raghav's hands trembled. She's alive?" he asked his assistant. "Yes, sir. She's working in a town nearby, quiet life. But the children, they look just like..." Raghav stood up. His chest felt tight. Enough. I need to see her, now. Meanwhile, Meher tucked her boys into bed. Amma, Aryan asked, where is our papa? She paused. He's far away, she said slowly. But you have me. Rayhan hugged her tightly. We don't need anyone else. That night she looked at an old photo hidden in a drawer. It was of her and Raghav, smiling under a tree. Back when they were young, before lies, before pain. She closed the drawer. Stay away from us, Raghav, she whispered. I built this life without you. I won't let you destroy it. But she didn't know. He was already on his way. The next morning, as she was walking the boys to school, a black car stopped beside her. The door opened, and there he was, Raghav. Older, richer, but still the same man who once broke her heart. Meher, he said. She froze. The boys looked up at him, confused. Who is he, Amma? Aryan asked. She didn't answer. Raghav looked at them, his heart racing, his voice cracked. Are they mine? Meher's face turned cold. You lost that right 6 years ago, she said. Meher stood frozen on the side of the road. Her 2 sons looked up at the tall man with curious eyes. The wind blew gently, but inside Meher's heart, a storm had begun. Who is he, Amma? Aryan asked again, holding her hand tighter. She bent down, brushed his hair back and said softly, He's no one, Beta, let's go. But Raghav took a step forward. Meher, please, just let me talk to you. She looked at him, really looked at him for the first time in 6 years. His expensive suit, shiny watch, and polished shoes were just like before, but his eyes, they were not the same. They looked tired, guilty. Meher stayed calm. You don't get to walk back into our lives like this. You left us, you threw me out when I needed you the most. I didn't know, Raghav whispered. I thought you were lying. Meher laughed bitterly. And now you believe. Because a photo told you what my tears couldn't? The children looked confused. Rayhan tugged her dress. Amma, who is he? She looked at her sons and then at Raghav. He's just someone from my past. That's all you need to know. She walked away, pulling her children gently. Raghav stood still, feeling helpless for the first time in years. He had built an empire, controlled boardrooms, and crushed business rivals. But now he couldn't even speak to his own children. Later that day, Meher sat alone outside her house. The boys were asleep, tired from school and all the questions they didn't understand. A soft knock came at the door. She didn't need to open it to know who it was. Go away, Raghav, she said. I just want to talk, he replied from the other side. I didn't come to fight. I came to say sorry. She opened the door slightly. Sorry won't fix 6 years of pain. I know, he said quietly. But I can't live with this guilt anymore. I made a terrible mistake. I let ego and fear win over love. She didn't reply. He continued. I kept telling myself you wanted something from me, that you lied to trap me. But the truth is, I was scared. Scared that a simple girl could break my perfect world. You didn't just break your world. Meher said sharply. You broke mine. I begged you that night. I was standing in the rain and you didn't even care that I was carrying your children. Raghav looked down, ashamed. She added, Do you know how it felt to give birth alone? To see your children cry because they have no father, to work 3 jobs just to feed them? Raghav's voice cracked. Let me help you now, please. Meher shook her head. They don't need your money. They need your truth. Can you give them that? Raghav was silent. Meher stepped closer. If one day your sons ask you, Papa, why did you leave us? What will you say? Raghav had no answer. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I was wrong. I was so wrong. For the first time, Meher saw something real in his eyes, not pride, not ego, but deep regret. Come back tomorrow, she said quietly. Not for me, for them. But know this, Raghav. If you hurt them, even once, I will never forgive you again. He nodded slowly. I'll earn their trust, even if it takes forever. As he walked away, Meher looked up at the stars. She had survived storms, hunger, and heartbreak. And now, the man who once closed the door on her was standing outside begging to be let in, but this time she held the key. The next morning came slowly. Meher stood in front of the mirror, brushing her long hair. Her mind was heavy, her heart even more so. She didn't sleep much last night. Raghav's face, wet with regret, kept flashing in her thoughts. After all these years, why had he come now? Outside the bedroom, Aryan and Rehan were already awake. They were whispering to each other. "Do you think Amma is sad?" Aryan asked. Rehan nodded. "It's because of that uncle." Aryan looked thoughtful. "He looked like us, did you notice?" Rehan's eyes widened. "Yeah, he had the same dimple as me." Just then there was a knock at the door. Meher froze. She slowly walked to the door and opened it just a little. Raghav stood there holding a small box in one hand and a nervous smile on his face. "I brought them some books and toys," he said. Can I talk to them?" Meher hesitated. Her instincts screamed no, but the boys deserved to know the truth. Someday. Maybe not all at once, but slowly. "Just for a few minutes," she said finally. "No big talks, just play." Raghav nodded quickly. When he entered the small room, his eyes scanned everything. The simple bed, the worn-out books, the drawings on the wall. He realized this was the world his sons had grown up in, and he hadn't been there. "Hello," he said softly. The boys looked at him, curious but not scared. "I'm Raghav," he said. "Your Amma and we used to be friends." Aryan tilted his head. "Did you draw these pictures too?" Raghav smiled. "No, I wasn't so good at drawing." Later that day, Meher walked Raghav out. "You didn't say anything wrong," she said. "Thank you." "I want to do more," Raghav said. "Can I take them out, just for a few hours?" Meher paused. "Not yet. They're not ready. And neither are you." He nodded, accepting her words. But the next few days changed everything. Raghav kept coming back, never pushing, never forcing. He brought books, helped with homework, even fixed the broken window in their room. Slowly, the boys started waiting for him. They laughed more. They asked more questions. One evening, Aryan came up to Meher with a serious face. "Amma," he said, "why does Uncle Raghav look like us?" Meher sat down. She knew this moment would come. She held his tiny hands. "Because he's your papa." Both boys looked shocked. "But why didn't he live with us?" Rehan whispered. Meher took a deep breath. "Long ago, he made a mistake. He didn't understand what family meant, so I had to protect you both." "Did he not love us?" Aryan asked, his voice trembling. "No, Beta," Meher said. "He didn't know you existed. But now that he knows, he's trying." The boys were quiet. "Can we call him Papa?" Rehan finally asked. Meher smiled through her tears. "If your heart says yes, then yes." The next morning, Raghav came again, expecting the usual shy greetings. But this time, both boys ran up to him. "Papa!" they shouted. Raghav dropped to his knees, stunned. He opened his arms and they hugged him tight. Tears rolled down his face. He had missed their first words, their first steps, their birthdays. But this moment, right here, was a second chance. Inside the house, Meher watched them and whispered, "Maybe, just maybe, fate is giving us a choice." A week had passed since the boys called Raghav Papa for the first time. He still remembered that moment every time he closed his eyes. Now, he wanted to give them everything: comfort, safety, and a name they could proudly carry. One sunny morning, he arrived at Meher's door with his car parked outside. He stepped out with a soft smile. "Meher," he said, "I want to take you and the boys home, with me." Meher looked at him silently. "Not just for a day," he continued. "I want you to live with me. They're my sons, and you. I owe you everything." Meher felt her heart shake. It was the same voice that once threw her out. But now it was softer, almost begging. The boys clapped and jumped. "Will we have our own room? Can we go, Amma? Please." Meher bent down. Only if you promise to behave. They nodded eagerly. She finally turned to Raghav. Okay, but this doesn't mean everything is perfect. We're doing this for the boys. Raghav nodded. Of course, I understand. That evening, the car pulled up in front of his giant mansion. The same house that once shut its doors on Meher, now opened wide. The boys ran inside with excitement, exploring every room. But Meher felt cold eyes watching her. At the top of the stairs stood Kavya, Raghav's cousin and business partner. She wore an expensive sari and her sharp gaze locked on Meher. Kavya walked down slowly. Is this your charity project, Raghav? She said with a forced smile. Raghav stepped forward. They're my family, Kavya. I expect you to respect them. Kavya laughed lightly, but her eyes remained dark. Of course, cousin. Anything for you. She turned to Meher. Welcome back, and it's not every day a girl gets kicked out and then returns with twins. Meher said nothing, but inside, her hands were trembling. That night, while the boys slept, peacefully in their new room, Meher stood on the balcony, staring at the moon. Raghav joined her quietly. I know it's not easy, he said, but I want to make it right. Meher looked at him. You can give them everything, Raghav, but can you protect them from your own people? He didn't answer. The next day, Kavya made her move. She called a lawyer and whispered something in his ear. Then she walked into Raghav's office with fake concern. You know, she said, if this girl files a claim, she could take half of your company. She might even turn the kids against you later. Raghav looked tired. They're my sons, Kavya, not some threat. She leaned forward. Fine, then prove it. Get a DNA test, protect yourself. Raghav stood up. I don't need a test to see my own reflection in their eyes. But Kavya had already planted a seed of doubt in others. By evening, rumors started. At a business party, one man whispered, is she really the mother of his kids? Or is this another drama? Someone else chuckled. She used to be his maid, right? Meher heard it all. She stood by the food table, holding back tears. Her sons were laughing nearby, innocent, unaware. Raghav walked over and saw the pain in her eyes. Let's go home, he said gently. But that night, Meher had made a decision. She packed a small bag. Raghav found her in the hallway. What are you doing? He asked. Meher looked at him, her eyes red. I didn't come back for money, Raghav. I came because they deserve a father. But I won't raise them in a place where people call me names. Raghav tried to speak, but she raised a hand. You have to choose, Raghav. Not between me and your business, but between truth and silence. The boys woke up and saw her with the bag. Are we going, Amma? Rehan asked, confused. Meher hugged them tightly. Not yet, Beta, but maybe soon. Raghav stood behind them, silent, defeated. In his own house, he felt like a stranger again. That night, he sat alone in his office, staring at an old photo. Him and Meher from years ago, before everything fell apart. He whispered to himself, I won't lose them again. The sun was just rising when Raghav made his decision. He had spent the whole night thinking, pacing, and staring at the sleeping faces of his sons. They looked peaceful, safe, but that peace was not real, not while Meher was hurting, and people in his life kept insulting her. He wouldn't allow it anymore. That morning, Raghav called for a meeting. Not at the office, but inside his mansion. Everyone who mattered in his business and family came. The board members, his aunt, his cousin Kavya. Even Meher stood quietly in the corner, confused. When everyone had arrived, Raghav stood in the center of the room. He cleared his throat. 6 years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life, he said, looking directly at Meher. I rejected the one person who was loyal to me when I had nothing. I threw her out. I didn't even listen. Whispers began around the room. But today, I want to say it in front of all of you. Meher is not just the mother of my children. She is the woman I should have married back then. Kavya stepped forward, pretending to smile. Cousin, are you sure this is wise? People are talking, the company, I don't care. Raghav shouted louder than ever before. Let them talk. I will not live another day pretending to be someone I'm not. He pointed at his sons. They are my blood, my twins, my pride. Then he turned to Meher. And she is my strength. The room went silent. Meher was frozen. She didn't know if she should cry or run, but Raghav wasn't done. He looked straight at Kavya now. I know what you've been doing. The rumors, the lawyers, trying to get people to doubt me. Kavya's face changed. You're accusing me? I'm stating facts, he said. You don't want Meher here because you never liked her, because she reminds you that not everything can be bought. Kavya's voice shook. You're ruining your image, Raghav. He smiled sadly. Then let it be ruined. I'd rather lose fake respect than lose the real people who love me. He walked over to Meher. Everyone watched as he bent on one knee and pulled out a ring. A new one, not flashy or expensive, but simple and full of meaning. I didn't do this right the first time. Meher, will you marry me now? Not because of the past, but because I want a future with you and our sons. Tears rolled down Meher's cheeks. For the first time in years, she saw the old Raghav, the one who used to walk miles just to meet her at the old village well. The one who made her laugh before the world became cruel. The boys ran over. Say yes, Amma, please. She laughed softly and nodded. Yes, Raghav. Yes. The room erupted. Some clapped. Some stared in shock. Kavya walked out silently, her plan ruined. Later that night, the family sat together for dinner. No more hiding. No more whispers. Raghav announced, We'll hold a wedding ceremony next month. This time, everyone will know who she is, and what she means to me. Meher smiled, holding his hand. But deep down, she knew something wasn't right yet, because that same night, a man in a dark office opened an envelope with photos of Meher, old ones, painful ones, and he smiled coldly. The house was filled with laughter. Raghav and Meher were finally happy. The twins were smiling more. The wedding preparations had begun. Flowers, music, lights, everything was ready. But peace doesn't last long when the past is watching. One morning, a strange letter arrived at the mansion. It had no name, no return address, just a thick white envelope with old photographs inside. Photos of Meher. Some showed her working at a small hotel. In one, she was holding a tray of food. In another, she was cleaning a floor, her face pale and tired. Raghav stared at them silently. Along with the photos, there was a note. This is the woman you're marrying. Think again. Ask her what she did in those 6 years. Raghav's hands shook. He didn't want to believe the worst, but doubt had a cruel voice. A voice that whispered, did she really survive by just working? What else did she do to protect the children? Later that evening, he found Meher sitting with the twins, helping them draw. He sat across from her. Quiet. Where were you during those 6 years, Meher? He asked gently. Meher froze. He continued. I know you worked, but someone sent me pictures of you at a roadside hotel, serving strangers, sleeping on benches. You never told me. Meher looked down. I didn't want you to see me like that, she whispered. I was ashamed. He took a deep breath. Was there something else, Meher? Something you're not telling me? She looked up with tears in her eyes. I begged. I cleaned floors. I worked in kitchens. I even slept at train stations when we had nowhere to go, but no. I never did anything wrong. I promised myself, no matter how poor I was, I'd stay honest for my children. Raghav felt his chest tighten. I don't care about those pictures, she said, voice shaking. I only care about what you see in me now. At that moment, the twins walked in. What's wrong, Amma? Are you crying? Meher wiped her face and hugged them tightly. Raghav stood slowly and walked out of the room, silent. Later that night, he went back to the place the letter came from. The envelope had a hidden stamp from a small town. He tracked it down to an old enemy, his uncle's. Business rival, Mr. Sharma? Mr. Sharma laughed when he saw Raghav. I thought I'd remind you who your fiancée really is. Raghav replied calmly, She's the strongest woman I've ever met. You thought this would break us? Sharma leaned forward. Your investors will leave if they hear about her past. Raghav smiled. Then let them leave. I'll build my empire again, from zero if I have to. But not without her. He walked away without looking back. When he returned home, Meher was sitting alone in the dark, her wedding dress half finished in her hands. He knelt before her. I saw the man who sent those photos. He wanted to ruin us, but he failed. Meher's voice was low. Do you still want to marry me? Raghav took her hand. I should have married you 6 years ago. I won't make the same mistake again. She broke down into tears. Happy tears? A few days later, the wedding took place under a sky full of stars. No big stage, no fake guests. Just close family, the twins, and 2 hearts that had been through fire and survived. During his vows, Raghav said loudly, she was homeless, she was alone, but she never lost her dignity. And that's what makes her my queen. The crowd clapped. Some cried. But the most beautiful part? The twins stood beside them holding the rings, smiling proudly, knowing they had parents who fought the world to stay together. As they walked down the aisle, Raghav whispered, this empire isn't mine anymore. It's ours. And Meher smiled, knowing the worst was behind them, or so they thought, because somewhere in the shadows a new threat was rising. But this time, they would face it together, as a family.